Welcome to Tech This Way.
Hi. Can you see me?
Yes, I can.
And
Hey,
right. Yes.
thanks for dialing in, man.
Yeah, not a problem. Looks like this is the only entertainment we have nowadays.
Yeah, lah, you can't go anywhere. How's life at home with you?
Okay. Not too bad because we've got a full family here, 6 of us. So it's been not lonely, I shall say.
Trying to get out of each other's way, right?
Yep, correct.
Anyway, thanks for dialing in. I wanted to have a chat with you for a while. I think a lot of people know you in the ecosystem, but I guess nobody really knows your long journey lah, to where you are. So the session today is more about that.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's been quite a while since I talked about my long journey.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, right? Because I think for me anyway, I know you from PitchIn and then WTF, but not much else before that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. I'm happy to share the ups and downs of my times entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. So you can start as far back as you want. All the way from
Oh,
Penang if you want to.
okay. Pinag only comes halfway through.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
No. Not really. Yeah. Oh, okay. Entrepreneurial journey. Yeah. Okay. Let me see where to start. Okay. Well, actually, I've always been an entrepreneur all my life, you can say. I've held literally 9 to 5 jobs, I think in total less than 3 to 5 years. Other than that, I've always been an entrepreneur. Right? So I started as an entrepreneur in my late 20s.
Okay.
And at that time, obviously, if you look at me, you know how old I am. So there were no computers then. Right. So the first venture was actually completely brick and mortar business. I actually okay, right from the start, I decided at that time we started a small stationery business. I started a very small stationery business, which was essentially supplying paper and stuff like that to a few people. And
This
when
was
I did
in
that,
KL.
this was in KL. My entire journey has been only in KL, entrepreneur journey, only in KL. I came back to KL in the 80s, spent about 2 or 3 years working, and then decided to launch this business. So basically...
Sorry, come back from what?
Yeah.
Come back from where?
No, I'll come back from Malacca.
So that's family in Malacca.
So my dad was a police officer, right? So we had stayed in quite a few places, and the last place was in Malacca. So when they left Malacca, I continued and remained in Malacca for 1 or 2 years on my own before coming back to KL. So I started this stationery business. About a year into the business, I realized that the place that I was living in, which was actually the same area I live in now, which is the Wangsa Maju Setapak area, was actually near to 2 universities. At that time, UTM was in one place and Tar College was, nearby. These 2 universities were nearby, and where I was living in was smack in the center of where the students were staying at the time. And I saw the opportunity to start a photostat center, just a photocopying center that would do documents and all that. So that was really seriously the start of my business venture, where we decided I started with one photocopy machine, and I can still remember, just as a side interest, my first daily collection was 15 sen, 15 cents.
How much was a copy?
5 cents.
So
we
tiga.
only, yeah, three pieces of paper, right? So we only copied 3 pieces of paper, and that went on for a short while. So I was wondering what I was doing, but then the
Hey,
word began to spread.
but photocopy machines are not cheap, man. So how did
Yeah,
you
yeah,
raise
yeah,
fund
yeah.
then?
Well, what happened at that time was because I was doing stationery business, I had access to people who were doing photocopying papers, and through them I met photocopying technicians who were also then beginning to start what they call a form of reconditioned copiers. So the copiers that probably Maybank would buy would be brand new copiers and all that, right? So these guys were doing this reconditioned copiers that they bring in from Japan, and they were not that expensive. So
Okay.
they're not expensive, and then you could, I mean, having got to know them, then they will also give us a little bit of credit and all that. So I put one photocopy machine, 15 cents first day collection, suffered for a short while, and then people began to come. Right? And then we added another machine and then another machine. And at our peak, we had something like, I think, 12 machines running. Right?
Wow.
So, yeah. At
And
that time,
your target customer was, you were right lah, is it the students lah were your target customers?
yeah, target customers were students who needed to photocopy books. Let's not talk about all the rules about copying and all that, but you know, they needed to photocopy books, and they came, and we did a lot of copying. But along the way, we also had a lot of people that began to corporate customers who needed bulk photocopy. Right, so there were I think I mean, this was a long time back, but if I remember correctly, these were people like engineering companies and stuff like that, who would then send over plans and books that needed bulk copying. So there were two streams of revenue coming in by that time: students and also corporate customers. So we did a lot of photocopying, and we went on for a few years, and then again in the very late 80s, some students started coming to us, and they said that what is that? We needed our thesis typed. You know, so they needed a thesis to be typed up. So we took on those jobs, getting somebody to type the thesis. But around the same time, I bought a computer. I was one of the first, probably at that time, you know, a few people to, I mean, not the first, obviously, but the first model of a IBM PC, which was called an XT computer, right? So I bought a computer to see what the fuss was all about, and played a few games and all that. And then I realized that actually you could type the thesis on the computer, right?
This was with
So
the
then,
green text.
yes, this was the green tech. There was no Microsoft Word then. I think the first word processing software was WordStar.
WordStar, I was going to say.
WordStar. Yes,
Oh,
it was WordStar.
I hate to admit I know that.
Exactly. So I don't tell a lot of people that I've tried WordStar, but yes, it was WordStar. So we had so my PC was then taken over by the company, and I got someone to start typing out the theses and all that. And after a while, I began to realize, and two things were happening at that time. On one side, copyright laws were beginning to enforce, right? So I realized that I'm not going to be around copying books for a very long time if I were to continue what I was doing. But also, I realized that technology was changing, right? So a PC was going to be the future. So what I did then was I started a business selling computers. So that was my step into the IT world.
Wow.
Right? So we were one of the first dealers to sell computers, and at that time we started by becoming dealers for a brand called Amstrad. Not sure if you know the brand.
Yes, of course.
Right. So we were selling Amstrad computers.
But those were more for home users, right?
Yes. It was at that time computers were beginning to be purchased by home users. Our target market was definitely home users. In fact, I remember participating in the very first PC fair and stuff like that. And so we were beginning to push these Amstrad computers and also later on other brands to consumers. Open up a shop somewhere in Ampang Point area, and then we started selling computers. So that went on for a while.
What year was this?
In the very early 90s, 91, 92 or so.
That would have been the time when Imbi Plaza was quite hot then, lah.
Yes.
Right?
My suppliers were beginning to... Yes, correct. My suppliers were from Imbi Plaza.
Okay.
Yeah, so we used to take computers from Imbi Plaza because Imbi Plaza was basically controlled by the big distributors, and they had their divisions that would sell computers to people like us. And so we started selling computers. This went on till the mid 90s. And then again, I realized that computers were going to be, because, okay, in the beginning, when we sell one computer, it was, most computers were priced between 5,000 to 9,000 ringgit. Right? At that margins, and the margins were good. But the margins begin to drop a few years later. And, you realize that computers are going to become a commodity. Right? And when they're commodities, the profit margin is not there. So then I begin to wonder what to do, what else can I do? And by that time, websites were emerging, right? So people were beginning to start websites and all that. So we then transformed our company into, we still continue selling computers a little bit, but we transformed our company by adding on a web team, someone who could develop, websites. And this was very early days. The websites were extremely difficult to program and all that, but we started doing websites, and we did fairly well. I remember doing websites for one of our biggest deal was doing a website for public finance, one of the banks, so in your industry. Right? Yeah, so that was not too bad, but again, after a few years, same prices begin to come down. Right? So people were beginning to do websites, and anybody can do from almost anywhere. Which then told me again, I am in a business that's going to be commoditized soon. Right? So then I talked for a while, and then we latched on to the next technology that was emerging, and that was handphones. Right? So mobile technology was emerging, but I decided I'm not going to go and sell mobile phones. Right? I looked at the resources I had, and these resources were basically the team of people that I developed, those web developers and all that. And so we had designed talent and obviously a little bit of IT knowledge. So I then began to explore the idea of, because I wanted a product that was my own rather than it's something that become commoditized, right? So, and I loved reading and following technology. So then I came up with this idea of actually launching a magazine on mobile technology. So I wanted to launch a magazine rather than, by that time there were quite a few PC magazines around. So I did not want to go there. I wanted to launch a magazine purely on mobile technology. And then I faced two challenges. One was, and I should have saved those messages. A lot of people laughed at us at that time. So when I posted on a few forums and all that, I want to launch a mobile magazine, people send me messages. They say, "Are you crazy? You should launch a PC magazine, not a mobile magazine," and this and that. But also the other problem that we had was that it was very, very expensive to launch a publishing business if you were to do it the traditional way. I spoke to a few people because I knew nothing much except that I had printing knowledge, right? Because of stationaries and all that. I know I had contacts with printers and all that. Printing was one side, but the publishing technology was in very, very old-fashioned and very expensive, right? So when I spoke to people, they say, "Oh, if you don't have R1 million, don't start a magazine." And obviously, I didn't have R1 million, so I knew that that could have been done. But then I began to think about how I could do the stuff without the same cost. And then being fairly technology savvy and all that, I saw things like, for example, one of the big costs was cameras. Because you're going to do a magazine, you need to take photographs, right? So traditionally, those days, you need to have either you bring in a photographer who will shoot on a very expensive photograph, film camera, right? Shoot the model or shoot the phones, go back to his model to his studio, process it on the film, then give you back those films to check and all that. And it was very, very expensive.
Yeah.
But then Canon had just released at that time one of the early semi-pro cameras. I can't remember the name. It was like some GX something, some small camera that was pretty powerful. Not too expensive. I think the cost was about 3,000 ringgit at the time.
Digital camera.
And, digital camera, one of the first digital cameras. So I bought that camera, and of course brought a tripod and all that, and said we will do our own photography. Right. So put the camera there, learn a little bit of photography. So the first 2 or 3 issues of Mobile World magazine, that was the name of my magazine. It was called Mobile World magazine. So first or 2, 3 issues, I even shot the model myself and put the photographs and did everything. And I also cut out another cost because most printers were still using the traditional method where you send them the even when you send a computer file, they will then convert it back into this olden day plates and all that you got to check the plates and all that. So what I did was that I then found a printer who was also doing computer to print technology, which meant that I could just give him a file and he'll give me the magazine. They can do all the process. Okay, all to cut the cost. We launched the magazine and we stuck at the right time. Mobile World magazine became one of the best-selling magazines, top magazines in Malaysia at that time. This was 2002, right? We launched it 2002. I was looking for an investor, but 1 or 2 years earlier, but 9/11 came and the investors are talking to all said no. So we launched it on our own, very small, but it began to take off. And I established ourselves as basically in the technology field, Mobile World magazine. Carried on.
If you remember those days, early 2000, what phones were there? Is it all Nokia's?
Yes.
Motorola and Nokia's.
Motorola and Nokia were the market leaders. So these two were the real market leaders. And I basically saw the rise of Nokia, the fall of Motorola, and the even stronger rise of Nokia, and then the fall of Nokia when Samsung and all that came over. So we oversaw the whole. Actually, the magazine was launched at the very year camera phones became color. Color and camera phones came out in Malaysia.
What was that? Do you remember this? What were the phones?
The very first, I mean, these are like Nokia N95 was a few years later. But prior to that was I can't remember the model now, but there was a Nokia model that was one of the first camera phones. I have the phone somewhere. I could go and find them one day. Yeah.
Oh, a classic, man.
Yeah, we got some classic collections of phones.
So when you ran that magazine at that time, how did you get your hands on all these phones that was being released?
Oh, so we just began to publicize ourselves by going to the phone companies and say we are launching this magazine, and then they took on showing them the copies of the magazine, and then we became established as a media. So once you are in the media field, you get invites to press conferences. You also they will send you phones for testing.
And you had no competition then, I guess.
I had no competition for a few years until all those people who used to laugh at us, the PC magazine people, also became mobile publications.
Right.
So that was quite a good times because it allowed us. It allowed us to really gain a lot of technical knowledge. Also travel because when you are in the media, you get offers to go and join them for events like Mobile World Congress or those stuff. So it was a good time. And then in 2004, to expand ourselves, together with some partners, I launched an event which was called Go Mobile. So Go Mobile was a large event aimed at mobile technology, obviously, and it was held. The first version was held at KL. Our first version was held at PWTC. The second one was held at KL Convention Center.
Why did you do
So
that?
it was a large event. Well, because if you just run the magazine, you just get revenue only from advertisements, right? But to diversify our revenue streams, if you launch an event, then the same companies like the Maxis and the Samsungs and all that will take up booth space and show off their phones, and and we could have a conference. We also organize a conference and also an awards nights and all that. So these were multiple revenue streams that enable us to diversify our revenues.
Sorry, so just to go back, right? When you moved from your photocopy company, then you went into the Amstrad PCs, then into the website. And as you transform yourself, what happened to your team, or did they grow with you on this adventure?
Okay, the photocopying team didn't grow because in terms of the photocopying staff, most of them are part-timers who just come in and photocopy for a few hours and all that. They didn't grow. When we moved to a PC magazine, our computer company, from that point onwards, while people might have changed, the team and so we grew. The team transformed. Right? So my salespeople who were selling computers begin to sell websites. Of course, we added people and all that, right? And then when we launched our magazine. Our designers who were then designing websites begin to become DTP artists and all that. Right. So we of course people turned over, but the core of the company remained. And then when we launch events, then we have added an events person to plan the event, but we also had the same salespeople then begin to become event marketers.
Cool. Okay, so you now now you were running events in your magazine.
Events and magazines until the government decided to get involved in 2008 or 9. MCMC launched an event that was very similar to mine. So you can't fight with the government, right? So when they decide to launch an event, it was also aimed at mobile technology. I told myself, I have to sell to Maxis to take a booth, whereas MCMC could just order Maxis, hey, come, let's take a booth in the whole event, right? Well, I'm sure MCMC did it with the best of intentions, so they wanted to grow the industry. But here was an event that would potentially compete with us. So around 2011, I again looked around and said, what can I do next? And then that was when I realized that among our core skills that I learned, I personally had learned how to grow businesses, right? And basically, if you talk about handling change, I have managed change over 4 different phases, right? So entrepreneurship was something that I gained some core competence in. And I decided to look around for things to do. And at that time, startups, so people begin to talk about starting new business and all that. And I met Sam, right? Obviously, Sam was someone that I met at MCMC.
He was the legal guy over there at the time, right? Lawyer.
Not really. At MCMC, he was actually more. He was in charge of. He was the head of the network security department there, I think.
Oh, was this before or after SC? He was in SC.
I think he was at AG Chambers, SC, and then MCMC.
Okay, so you met Sam.
Okay, I got to know Sam because we were engaged by MCMC to do a magazine for them also. Right? So among one of the articles we had actually interviewed Sam, got to know him, and we became friends. And then we didn't see each other for 1 year or 2 years. And then the next time I bumped into him, it was at an event that I had organized for mobile startups and all that. And he came. And then after the event, we went down for a cup of tea, talked. And then I said, hey, what are you doing? And he says, because he was no longer the government type, right? So it already he looked like what he looks now. Right? So when I first met him in MCMC, he was in a coat and his shirts and all that. Right? So here, he looked different. So I said, what are you doing now? And he said, oh, I left and I'm looking for, I'm also trying to build some startups. And then we sat down and we said that both of us, since we want to do the same thing, let's work together. And that was the start of Watchtower and Friends, the company that we set up to, first we wanted to actually build our own startups, or at least do some venture building where we will engage people to lead the ideas that we have. Right? So we actually went and found one or two people to start some ideas and all that, but it didn't work. We realized bringing in venture CEOs to run venture company not going to work. The only venture that we succeeded was our own one, PitchIn. Right? So then we decided that that's not going to work, and then we decided an accelerator would be a better way, and we launched our accelerator. And from then onwards, I think you know the story that we did one batch, which turned out very well. Our very first batch of Money Match and the lorry and stuff like that. And
yes.
We carried on, but in parallel, we ran PitchIn ourselves. In 2013, we were engaged by the Securities Commission. They started talking to us about equity crowdfunding, and we were very happy because that's the whole idea behind what we wanted to do for crowdfunding. And 2014 was spent really working a lot on planning on what ECF would be like. And 2015, we got our license. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah. If you look at, I was just thinking about from the skill set and people standpoint, right? When you started way back then with your website, I think from I'm trying to relive my own history when I think about the IMBI, the Lawyat, and not even Lawyat, at that point it was IMBI. Everybody the skills everybody had was like they kind of picked up on their own, right?
Yes.
I don't think there was that many MSc science or IT engineering degrees out there yet, right? Everybody kind of had an interest in IT and programming and design, and they picked it up, right? So, how have you seen that skill set change and grow from that time?
Oh yeah, you're right. In the beginning, it was really whatever we learned, on our own and watching people, very much like how a mechanic, would just go and sit down in an apprentice would sit down in a mechanic's car and workshop and then learn how to repair cars and all that. But over time, yes, you can see, and I think that's where the transformation, to a great extent, MSc Malaysia is a fantastic idea, right? So it really helped to grow the group of people who could really leverage off the later technologies that actually required a lot of knowledges and all that. So MSc Malaysia, when it first launched, was a catalyst, I think, for a lot of people who were able to, who had actually maybe even gone to learn IT somewhere, but had come back, they had a place to actually test it out. And that's when you see all the later ventures start, the one that actually required more technologies and all that.
So where do you think this entrepreneurial spirit came from for yourself?
I would say necessity. Actually, I am the only entrepreneur in my family, right? So, but I would say, if I were to look back and I have thought about it, I think when I was in Malacca, the people I knew there were also launching their own businesses, right? And seeing them launch their business and seeing some of the things that they're doing quickly made me realize that a 9-to-5 job is not going to be something that I like, right? The idea of me going and not doing much else, or something that was as opposed to what I see people do. When I saw some of the people there who were launching businesses, maybe even failing or succeeding, but still trying new things and going out to meet people. I like that. Right? So when I came, I was still looking out for things to do. The only reason was that let's try to do something.
So it sounds like your current adventure, right? All the WTF and PitchIn, it's almost like one of your longer periods, lah.
It is. It
Right?
is. It is. Yes. So far, when I sat down, I look at it. It is basically in the 90s, I did something, and then in the 2000, the first decade, I did something, and this is the third decade, which is basically WTF and PitchIn, right? Because it started in 2011 and 12. Not the longest, but obviously, but definitely the most rewarding, right? It's been very rewarding because from two aspects, lah. I mean, obviously, PitchIn is fantastic. We're growing and being able to take our leadership position in the market is fantastic. But at the same time, this accelerator, which allows us to then engage a lot of people. I mean, just one example, just to see the lorry grow from a PowerPoint deck to what, I don't know, by now they probably have about 100 staff, operating in a building, 3 countries or 4 countries by now. It's something that I wouldn't trade for anything else for.
So when you started PitchIn, you were saying that, with Sam, you guys initially wanted to do some of the startups yourself, like your own businesses, right? So now it's like you're almost living your dream through all these other companies in a way. But I know that that spirit of building your own company is not over, right? You're still looking at new things to do, though.
Yes. I mean, definitely. First, one thing that we learned very quickly at Watchtower and Friends was that you can't pick someone and turn him into a CEO or into an entrepreneur, right? So you can't just pick someone who says, "Hey, I've got this idea. Can you come and lead this?" It doesn't work. Very, very difficult because the idea is not that person's, right? So we quickly learned that, and we realized that it's better that to work with people who has the idea. So like Nadir and Chihao that came to us and said, "I got the idea for the lorry," or Maddie who said, "I got the idea for my cash," or money match, or those kind of things. Fine. It being their idea, they learn, right? So they carry on. So similarly for us, our idea, our passion is PitchIn, or rather crowdfunding and equity. And while we have done pretty well at equity crowdfunding, we're not going to stop there. Because just like anything else, this is an industry that's growing. We are just touching the tip right now. We are dealing with private limited companies of a certain size that come to us to raise money. But when you look forward, the possibilities are great. We can start a secondary market for all the companies that raise money. B, we can begin to look at other unlisted securities. C, we can look at the new emerging, not emerging, but this new area of tokens and crypto tokens and all that. So there's a lot of things that we can look at, and that again, I would say fuels our passion for entrepreneurship. So definitely PitchIn, Sam and I are looking at starting all this new stuff that will then grow PitchIn into beyond an equity crowdfunding platform.
Would you say you might run the risk of spreading yourselves too thin and not focus on, I think like if we go through your journey, you kind of transition quite nicely, right? From the Mstrat, you went into the website, overlap a little bit, and then you went into the magazine and then the events, but they were kind of one thing at a time. Suddenly now it's almost like, there's WTF, there's the PitchIn, and then the things that you laid out, right? All these various different businesses, which in a way, the business models are quite different and the focus can be quite different too, right? Would you run the risk of spreading yourself too thin? Oh, sorry. Did the line cut off?
You were cut off a bit. Just give me a second while I try to find a better internet connection.
I think it's back. I think it's okay now.
Okay, it's okay, yeah? All right. Okay, so it's okay. Now, that's a very good question, very valid, and some of the things that we definitely are worrying about. But I think there's going to be one major difference. All the earlier ventures other than having, obviously we have some partners and all that, but it was basically people, right? So people, you can't stretch that much more, you know. So I can't be stretched that much more, for example. But now at PitchIn, we have resources beyond people. We are about to raise money, so PitchIn will raise money. So this, what we have done at PitchIn is something that Sam and I could have done ourselves. But the next phase of PitchIn is not something that we can do ourselves. So we are about to raise money. We will raise a serious amount of money in the next few months. Once we raise that money, then I think with that we have already planned that we will then build separate business units. So our approach then will become very corporate-like, right? So if it's going to be equity crowdfunding, there'll be a team looking at equity crowdfunding. If there's going to be secondary market, there'll be a team looking at secondary market. I think the transition from a startup to a larger corporation is something that Sam and I will have to manage, but we're confident we can. I wouldn't call us a startup anymore if we were to, once we finish launching our raising our money. And obviously, having got on in years, I or neither Sam will be there forever, right? So we are actively, along with our plans for our business unit that we're going to launch, we are in our plans are actively the move to bring in the next generation of leaders into PitchIn. So there will be the next generation who will take over over the next 2 to 3 years. They will take over. Of course, we will have to manage that change. It's not going to be easy. But having spoken to a few people that I know are interested, I think we will be able to build a team that can take that on.
And I guess back to your point initially that you said you cannot just make entrepreneurs out of anybody, right? They must have the passion for that business itself. So you need to find those kind of guys somehow.
Yes, exactly. We need to find those kind of guys. So the good thing about running an accelerator is that we come into contact with a lot of people. Now, when you come into contact with a lot of people, and these people are all entrepreneurs. I think the underlying principle that I want to convey is that many good entrepreneurs could fail at some venture, right? So at WTF, we have a lot of people who we came in and we backed them, and some of the startups failed, right? Some of the startups failed because the founders were, put in a simple word, lousy, useless, right? And we just said good riddance to them and said bye, right? So we lost money there, and we got it out, and those are the people that we would not want to work with again. But there are a lot of people who are great people, but maybe their idea had not come, their time was not there, or certain other outside forces caused their venture to fail. So these are the kind of people that I think would be ideal if you want to launch new businesses and get them involved, because they are entrepreneurs at heart. So that has been our, if you ask me who I'm seeking at for the next round of leaders, I would say these are the kind of people that we're looking at. People who have either seriously tried a venture.
So I just want to go back to a little bit more topical stuff. Like, so today you guys had that Facebook session.
Yes.
The live Zoom. Do you want to share a little bit about that? What was the thinking and the mission there?
Okay, sure. I think when this crisis broke, we PitchIn quickly found ourselves in the heart of the storm. And all around us, we saw businesses who were then wondering how to cope, what to do, having their fears, rushing to cope, and planning to act in a world where half their business might have disappeared. So we could see that happening around us. So we felt we had to react and actually take some kind of leadership position. So we did two things. One of the things that we did was that we actually issued a statement. Actually, we shared it out to our group of companies that we know. So PitchIn has immediately made it easier for people to fundraise. Right? So they come to us, we're going to drop our fees, we are going to double the marketing, we are even going to, some of the fees that we still will charge them, if they can't pay, we will take that in the form of shares. And also, PitchIn itself is reacting and trying to help these entrepreneurs. But at the same time, I think we also realize that we've got a whole group of people around us, experienced entrepreneurs, who probably know more about certain areas than us. So what we did was we called a few people, and within, I think one day we got 4 of them said, okay, let's do this. So we got a founder of Oxford CK, who is a highly or purely online business, and he sells apparels and all that. Then we got Signature Market, another company that's mostly online and very much into food and stuff like that. Then we also got F&B sector that's very, very impacted. Vincent from VMO Rocks. And again, a more brick and mortar business, Zaliza alias the CEO of Genius Aula, a group of schools that would have been definitely impacted because they actually children come to the schools every day. So we brought 4 of them together. I think we had a very good discussion. All of them shared their views. The consensus was clear. Tough times come, and you cannot avoid that, but tough people survive. Right? And I think one of the most key learnings that came out from that was that you really got to digitalize your businesses as much as possible, because that's going to take you through the storm. But at the same time, keep your focus, manage your cash, keep your reserves, don't waste it right now. Focus on things that can bring you profit until the storm passes, generate new leads, and then go forward very quickly.
Now, these are companies which have established themselves and are trying to survive, right? But what would your advice be for all these young startups who, probably a month ago was just about to get into it, and then suddenly all hell broke loose, right? So what would your advice be for those guys who want to start? Should they just wait, or should if you can survive these hard times, maybe you can survive forever, all the harder times?
I think hard times bring opportunities that are not there. I would encourage anyone who was planning to start a business to start. Right? I say that with a caveat. Obviously, I don't know your business. So, if you were planning to start a business that would have been that is not going to be possible in the next 1 year, then obviously don't start. Right? But if you are looking at starting a venture, this is actually a great time to start, and I'll tell you why. One, just like all the other crises that I've gone through and others have gone through, things are going to be cheap to start now. Right? It's going to be much easier. One, you will be able to find your talent quickly. You will be able to even keep your overheads low. Right? Rentals are going to be lower going forward and stuff like that. And thirdly, even when it comes to digital, somebody was telling me that even when it comes to Facebook advertisements and all that, they have dropped. The prices have dropped because less people are advertising now. So it's a very, I would say the noise have reduced out there, right? So if you go out, you have every chance of being heard. So go out and launch your business, but and this is the same advice I'll give to anybody, even without a crisis. Do not go crazy with your financials and all that. Work carefully, slowly. Keep your bullets. Don't one of the most common mistake that people come to us, even when it comes to crowdfunding or when it comes to accelerator, is when they come to us and they put up their business plans. Many of them, for example, will say, "I need $1 million to do this." But if you were to sit down with them and actually go through, they will find that they may need only 200,000. So, so this is because of inexperience, and you think that you need to hire 10 people right away. But why don't you hire 2 people and then grow to the 10 people when you have the business, right? So I would say it's a good time to start businesses.
Now, as far as crises go, so obviously you've gone through quite a few, right? How does this one compare to the .com or the crash in the late 80s. How does this compare to the last 30, 40 years? Or is it just another one of those?
Okay, I would say it's not. I would say everyone was bad in his own way, but this one is rather special. Right? So this crisis is very, very special because it affects everybody. Right? So let's look at the dot-com crash. The dot-com crash would have hurt many technology entrepreneurs and a lot more VCs who are putting money into them. But they didn't really hurt the ordinary people who went on, getting their paychecks and working in brick and mortar companies and all that. Even the financial crisis hurt a lot of banks and shook the financial market and institutions. But underlying that, people could still go to work. And obviously there are a lot of layoffs or that happens. But this one is different. This one affects everybody, right? It has shaken the financial markets, right? So until down about 30 to 40, 50%. They don't know, the wild swings and all that. It has shaken industries like hospitality and travel to its very core, right? And then
Oil
it's
and
gone
gas.
down, oil and gas, right? And it's gone down all the way to the guy who was running the burger shop at our corner in the road outside our condo in the corner there. He has not opened for the last 2 weeks, right? So it has affected everybody, and because it's not just I don't think it's going to be the MCO period. It's like for 3 weeks but it's going to go a bit beyond that, not just for the MCO, but really the effects. I would say the reverberations of this crisis is going to be quite strong. A lot of people will lose their jobs. A lot of people won't be able to make their housing payments, for example, even with the moratoriums and all that. After 6 months, they may not be able to make their housing payments, and then you will have a lot of issues like that. But still, having said that, it's going to be a very tough 1 year at least. But just like the time when, anything, people will say the world has changed and, it's never going to be the same. I don't know when I'm going to survive. I believe we will all survive and emerge stronger on the other side.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. And how is it from, it may be a bit too early to tell, but you mentioned how PitchIn, you issued out that statement. I saw that letter on the things that you're going to do. Or even just prior to that, how is business in terms of fundraising for the SMEs? And how has that been impacted with COVID?
Okay. There will be an impact for sure. Since equity crowdfunding obviously is something that people were to want to, when you're on the investor side, when they want to put in money, it's more obviously spare cash and stuff like that. And many investors would be reassessing where to put their money or should I hold on and all that. So that has obviously created some, I would say, worries. Some of those companies want to raise money as to whether their investors would want to invest into them right now. So we have seen some impact in the sense that a lot of companies says, at least for the next 2 to 3 weeks, let's wait, and then I will launch my campaign rather than launching my campaign right now. And when they do, then we will know what has been the impact from the investors, because it's very hard to say so. However, we see. I saw something quite interesting. The 2 deals that were running on PitchIn through this period, we had 2 deals, New Vending and what is the other one? New Vending and another, I can't even remember my own deals now. That's how many things are on our head, right? But so we had 2 deals running. Okay, the Yin Sourdough Bakery, right? So we had these 2 deals running, and when the crisis broke, I was sort of half expected 2 things to happen. One, that under equity crowdfunding rules, you can before the deal is finished and after the 60 cooling period, you can ask for your money back and says, I changed my mind. 2, obviously those who haven't invested can say, I don't want to invest. But I didn't see both happening. Both these deals have completed. Investors have stayed put. And in fact, in the last 10 days, I've seen investments continuing to come forth. People have continued to invest into these two deals, which actually, frankly, made me happy, but also slightly surprised. So it tells me two things. One is a lot of people are looking for good companies right now. And this was the same message that we spoke about at the panel session. If your company survives this crisis, and I'm confident many of the pitching companies will, they are good companies, that means they will grow, right? Because their competitors would have been shaken. So people do look for good deals, and I think those are going to happen. So I do see an impact, but it's not going to be as strong as I expected. In fact, a lot of people are beginning to look at deals again. Obviously, we're moving our online pitching sessions online, so there's going to be an online pitching session on Friday and Monday, and then we'll see how many turn up. But I think, the other side effect that many people may not realize, a lot of people also sold shares that they were holding, for example. They cashed out from the stock market, right?
Yeah.
So that cash is also free. That cash will need a home, right? So people will then be looking around for other opportunities. So since we offer a bit longer term investments, I believe some of the money will also end up here.
Yeah, and the interest rates have all been slashed also.
Exactly, interest is slashed, right? So these are things. And some of the companies that there's one company that's going to come up soon called Guard, right? So they're not live yet. They're going to be live in the next 1 month or so. And the guy, he's basically built a software that allows landlords to collect rental. Basically, people who own multiple properties, they collect rental on their behalf, and it's a completely software, SaaS tool and all that. And I was speaking to him yesterday, he told me, he says, my business is booming. There was no other way for people to collect rental. And so all the big tenants signed up with me, so he said, my business is booming. So wherever crisis strikes, there will always be people who profit. And so I think business will go on. The impact for the next 3 months, definite. But after 3 months, I expect to see it becoming better.
What about your accelerator programs with WTF? What's happening in the next near future?
So we've got a batch running now, but obviously with this crisis, it will drag on a little bit, because many of them will now have to, we will have to work a bit slower with them. And so with the startup that we have right now, our plan was to do a second batch later in the year, and we still want to do that towards the end of the year, or mid I would say third quarter kind of year. That's the time we probably could do another batch. We're still on track to possibly partner with Etika and all that on this. So our plans haven't changed, because to our understanding, good companies will always emerge. So we want to look out for the next good companies.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but these people may have to be prepared to launch and even be accelerated, maybe through Zoom.
Yeah.
This might happen. Yeah.
No, you mentioned what was that company? The Yin Sourdough. That's the one that has the bakery in Damansara Utama, right?
Yes, they have one there, and I think they got 2 or 3 outlets in Penang. Right?
Yeah.
So this again, it may be a brick and mortar business, but they operate in the product that they have is very much the kind of product that people like. So their own, these bakery products, they have got their fans. Their fans are investing to them.
Oh, that's good, lah. That's good to hear.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Kash.
All right.
It's coming to the hour.
Yeah. It's been great talking to you, and going back in time and realizing, wow, what a journey I've gone through.
Yeah. And I think it's one of these things that it's beneficial for people to know a little bit more about how to survive this. You're right that sometimes when things like this happen, they think, oh, this is the end of the world. It's there's no way out. But actually, throughout somebody like yourself, your own journey, right, over the last 20, 30 years, it's a phase. You get stronger out on the other side, if you survive it.
Yeah, you get stronger out. I think somebody posted that note when we were having the panel session, which is true. They say businesses can fail, but entrepreneurs don't fail. They get up and just maybe launch even something else. Worst come to worst, but they will succeed sooner or later. I think that's the spirit that people got to take. It may look very difficult, but I still remember even 9/11 when the bombs fell. People say the world has changed and nothing will. Well, it's always the new normal. So we have to decide very soon what's the new normal, and then just operate from there.
Yeah. Face masks may be the new normal, but business goes on.
Yeah, business goes on. Maybe we shake hands a lot less now. Do more Zoom meetings and stuff like that. But business will go on, life will go on.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Okay, man. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Stay safe, stay home.
Bye.
Bye-bye.